This video is brought to you by YTAndrewPaul Tech Repairs. If you have a console, laptop, computer or Macbook in need of repair in the UK or the EU, then have a look in the description below this video for details on how to contact us in order to organise your repair. Right, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be taking a look at this PS4. It's an SAA-001 with its 5-pin 5-volt connector. As you can see, it suffered a little bit of misfortune. It's come off the board and it's with us here today to try and fix it. So that's what we're going to do. And I don't know where this one's come from. I opened the box and there was no name or anything in it. So I've had to get onto the courier company who are going to contact the customer and hopefully they'll get in touch to go, oh, hello, it's mine. So that's lovely. So here we go. So we're going to get this done today. Now then, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes here just to explain some things that we're going to be doing on the channel going forward. If you're not interested, then that's fine. I'll put a timestamp in the description to where you can jump to where the repair starts. But if you are a follower of the channel and you're interested, then by all means just stick around for this next couple of minutes and we'll go over it. Okay, so essentially I have had a few comments recently saying that people would like more content and they don't really care what it is, as long as they can sort of like see some repairs going on. That'd be cool, even if it's stuff that maybe we've covered before. And that got me thinking as to how many people actually feel that way, because up to now I've kind of tried to run the channel as like a knowledge basey type thing. So when I get a new issue, I'll document it and we'll go into it in detail and we'll see what's happening and why, and ultimately fix it. And I know up to now, obviously, a lot of my subscribers are people who do this for a hobby, obviously people who have faulty machines themselves and want to see if they can fix it. But also a lot of businesses and things use these as like troubleshooting and knowledge sharing and all that sort of stuff. So obviously what we've been doing up to now matters a lot to the people who are currently subscribed, and that's great, and that will continue to be the case going forward. However, it would be nice as well to sort of obviously get a bit more content out there for you guys, because obviously it gives you something to watch that hopefully you enjoy, and hopefully it'll help me grow the channel if I can get more content out there more regularly. So we can both sort of win out of this, hopefully. So basically what I'm going to do, or what I'm going to try to do, is obviously we're going to carry on in the same way. So if something unique and new that we've not had on the channel comes up, we'll do what we've always done. We'll sort of like, we'll do a technical dive on it. We'll show the repair, we'll show everything working afterwards, jobs are good, and it'll go in the playlist. Now the playlist we've got at the minute, I think going to tweak them slightly. So the playlist we've got at the minute, I think we've got one for PS4, Xbox, Switch, MacBook, and then like I think we've got a couple of the retro ones for like the original Xboxes and stuff like that. We'll be messing around with them. I do have some more videos to do on those as well, by the way, including some PS2s, but we'll come to that in a bit. But anyway, I think what we'll do is we'll keep those playlists as they are at the minute. But we'll rename them so that they'll be like a knowledge base type tutorial. So tutorials, how-tos, technical sort of dives. The videos we've been doing up to now basically we'll keep in there so that people who use these, as I say, other businesses for troubleshooting, knowledge sharing, and all that sort of stuff can still access the material they need really quickly and easily, and it doesn't affect that. And we'll keep doing those types of videos going forward when we get that sort of stuff in. But in general, for people who want more content, even if it's sort of like similar to stuff we've done before, then what we'll do is we'll probably create another playlist, something like I don't know, like repair sessions and stuff like that, so you can actually see what's going on. So you get more content, even if it's sort of similar sort of stuff as what we've done, but you can still see it, because apparently people in the comments have been really useful as to sort of explaining, because I've never sort of appreciated this before now, but people say, it doesn't really matter if it's similar sort of stuff, as long as we can sort of see you using the tools and the techniques you're using, we're still learning, we're still picking up on things, and we're still getting some use out of those videos, even if not necessarily brand new stuff that you're doing. So that's great. So what I'm going to do is, like I say, the playlist at the minute will rename probably like PS4 knowledge base, Xbox One knowledge base, all that sort of stuff. And like I said, those technical videos, when they come up and it's a unique issue, it's a new problem, we'll go into those playlists. The other stuff that's a bit samey, you know, similar sort of stuff to what we've done before. What we'll do is we'll put those in a, like I say, in like a repair session playlist. Again, whether they all just go in one big playlist or whether they sort of go into like PS4, Xbox, you know, we sort of break them up a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, thoughts, opinions, etc. As always, most welcome. After all, this content is here for you guys. So you tell me what you want, and I'll try and help you out. So hopefully we'll get a bit more content. People want to see more stuff. You know, some people watch it for entertainment, which is great. I'm absolutely flattered. So hopefully you guys get something out of it. The sort of ladies and gentlemen and the other businesses and stuff that use this for like I say, troubleshooting, knowledge sharing and all that sort of stuff can still get to the stuff they want. So hopefully you still get your type of content. The ladies and gentlemen who want to sort of see this as just as a bit of entertainment, or like I said, you know, who just want to see it and see stuff being done and just want a bit more content, can hopefully get what they want. And hopefully between the sort of two, we can come to some sort of arrangement where we all get what we want, and that would be cool. But like I said, as always, if you have anything at all that you want to share, any thoughts, opinions, feelings, other ways we can work it, I'm all ears. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Right, and with that said, let's get on with today's problem. So this is an SAA-001, and it's, yes, this 5-volt connector doesn't look very happy, does it? So as you can see there, that's the front of it. So we do have some hot glue on here as well. Not on the actual port itself, that all looks to just be soldered on. We do have this wire here that's running down here. As I say, there's some hot glue here. There's some also on the other side. That's going to a screw hole. So yes, that's that really. As you can see, it's you know, it is on. It's not very secure. It's a bit loose. So if we flip things over, and you can just take a look at the back of here. This might be fun actually, because obviously this is under the microscope and it's sat directly underneath the 12-volt pins for the PSU, so it's pushed it right up. So as you can see there, those two things there, those are the back of the two prongs that sit up off the board and go into the power supply. So as you can see there, we've got some more hot glue, comes down here to the point at the back, and then we have some more soldering work to sort of try and connect everything. It's multi-strand wire, which isn't particularly ideal for this sort of stuff. You either want to be using like magnet wire or Kynar, something like that along those lines. But anyway, yeah, like I say, it's a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to manage. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with this sort of stuff if it's all you've got laying around, but ideally, like I say, Kynar or magnets, the sort of stuff you want to be using on all these types of repair. They're a lot easier to manage because there's only one strand in Kynar. It's a lot easier to manipulate. And like I said, there's quite a bit of insulation stripped back off here, and it doesn't really matter as such because there's nothing actually over this way here. This is all conformal coated up. There's nothing it's touching. It's right on the edge of this circuit, so it didn't really matter. But it's not the tidiest job in the world. But hey, somebody's had a go and tried to do it, and obviously it's not been too successful. That's why it's here. But you know, all credit to them. They've tried. So it's not too bad, to be fair. I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get this back in the land of the living, I hope. So, right, let's crack on and take a look. There seems to be a little bit of bridging here between these two caps, a little sliver of solder there. I think you can probably just about see it. It doesn't matter, those two sort of contacts on those sides. The capacitors there are on the same plane. They're a common point here, so that's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter. Right, so the first thing I think we're going to have to do here is just clean this connector off and just see what sort of state it's in, whether we can reuse it or whether we're going to be looking to replace it with a donor. So I'm just going to put the fume extraction on here. So my apologies if it gets a little bit noisy. I've just tried to half demolish my desk with a big bottle of IPA. Which is now empty, so why the hell I left it there in the first place, I don't really know. Right, I'm just going to get myself set up here. Okay, it's another warm weekend here in Bradford. So, the sun is out, kind of. It's a nice day. Always helps. 22 degrees, I think he said it has to be today. So it's going to be a warm one, especially when you've got the hot air and the soldering irons and everything else in here. If I have to do any BGA work today, I'm liable to look like something out of Baywatch. But right, anyway, so we have the pad moistened up. Hopefully that's yeah, it's all looking pretty good. Wire on my JBC is trying to troll me at the moment. I'm trying to wrap itself around the tip of the iron, which is never particularly great. That one is £200 odd for an iron. And okay, so let's see what we can do here then. So I'm just going to come in here. First of all, I'm just going to try and get rid of this wire. Okie doke. That's that. Bye bye. Like I say, it's hot snotted down at the minute, but I'm not too bothered about that. Okie doke. So, now the big problem I have here is not knowing what's underneath there. So, is there any pads intact or is there not? Just going to try and get you a little bit more centralised. There's a glare from the outside window on the monitor, which is really useful because that means I can't see what you can see very easily anyway. So we're just going to come in here with a bit of braid. And as you can see, just off that one pin there, there's quite a bit of tin come off there, so there's quite a little bit too much solder on there, to be fair, but that's okay. We can clean that up, get the contacts looking somewhat normal again. Again, there, as you can see, it's flooded the end of my braid there, so it's not the easiest repair job in the world, isn't this one? You know what I mean? This sort of stuff is quite tricky if you're not used to it. So, you know, I have no problem with people having a try at all, but it can be tricky, as I think this person found out. But okay, yeah, lovely, and that's now come off. Alrighty then, so let's have a quick tidy up. I'm just going to chop the end of that off my braid again, then we can get in here, just clean up and just see what we've got. Alright, so don't mind me if I'm humming to myself, that's usually what I do, to be fair. I'm not going to be signing up for X Factor anytime soon. That's the point, actually. COVID-19. Is the X Factor still a thing this year? I haven't got anything good to say about COVID-19, but if X Factor's not on, then I don't know. Yeah, every cloud, no. Right, so okay. Let's just get a little bit of IPA. So this is isopropyl alcohol, IPA. It's a cleaning solvent, essentially. You can't drink it. It is 99% proof, so it's a shame you can't drink it. But there we go. It'd be a good night, wouldn't it? It wouldn't take much, would it? You can buy a litre bottle of it for, I think I paid just short of 15 quid for it, so it'd be a cheap night out as well. But yeah, no, don't drink it. Don't even be tempted. So we're just going to keep cleaning this up here, just to try and get rid of some of the sort of, there's a little bit of dust, a little bit of sort of like, it looks like rosin from the solder that was used. It's just on the board there. This IPA actually is very, very good. I used some of this the other day. It's a new bottle, and it's actually very good. Because like really stubborn stuff like that, the old stuff I had, even though that was 99% proof as well, sort of didn't quite cut through it just the same as this does. This is excellent stuff. And I have also just realised as well that I am rapidly running out of Q-tips, which could be a problem. I may have to nip off and get some more before the shop's shut. So let's have a look here then. Just straighten you up actually. I just realised you're on the session. So let's have a look. Right. Yeah, this Aye, aye, aye. Okay, this could be interesting. So let's take a look and see. So, essentially what we've got here is, I'll tell you what, while I'm here, just for completion, I know it doesn't matter, but it's going to do my OCD if I don't do it. Going to get a bit of braid on there just to take the little bridge out between those two caps. Right, so essentially what we have here, we've got a multimeter here. I'm just going to put it into continuity mode. That's the mode where it beeps when 2 points which are connected, when they touch together, they beep. So it shows you that those 2 points are directly connected. So when I do this, essentially, the multimeter beeps. Now I've killed the air, so hopefully you can hear that. I do need to change the battery in this multimeter. It's not quite as loud as it used to be. So let's take a look. So, just having a quick look here. What we should have is right. So this here, this pad here, we'll start here. No, in fact, no, we won't. We'll start up here. So you can see this pad here. Okay, there's a via just here. Okay, so that would come off the end of the pad. So basically, pad here, leg from connector solders onto this pad. The pad there is directly connected to this via. Via essentially, think about it as a staircase, goes through the layers of the motherboard. In this instance, it goes all the way through to the other side of the motherboard, to those components where basically that white wire is soldered to. So that there goes to the other side of the board. Now the via itself is still intact. As you can see here though, there's a little dark green line here which separates the via from this bit here on the other side. The other side is ground. Okay, so you can see how close this via is to this area here, because this area has been scratched back to try and, I presume, to try and solder the leg. Or to try, or maybe somebody's thought, right, there's a via there, I'll run a link wire, but obviously it sits underneath the connector, so they haven't been able to do it. There is a bit of scraping going on here, which I hate to sort of see this sort of stuff because this is generally bad. I don't know what that is. There's something else underneath here as well. If that's voltage, like I said, that could actually be the trace for that. I'm not sure at this point. I don't really want to risk it, to be honest with you. I don't know what that is. In fact, let's just see if that is ground. So if I put one probe in the multimeter to ground and I touch here, it is ground. Okay, so that could be a problem. There's a little bit of something here as well. I don't think that's quite, oh, hang on. It is, that's ground as well. So there's a ground plane, or several ground planes that are exposed underneath this pad. Now that's bad, and that is bad because this pin here is a data line that goes through to the other side of the board. So basically, if the leg of the connector touches this, then the signal isn't going to go down here, it's going to go to ground. Which means that this pin here is going to be shorted to ground, which means our PlayStation isn't going to get it. It's not going to work because the data that needs to go down there, the communication point between the power supply and the motherboard, is essentially going to be shorted to ground, which means it's not going to work, which means the signals between the board and the power supply when it comes to initialize isn't going to behave as it needs to. It's going to go to ground, which basically means no communication, no turning on it, which is a bit of a problem. So yes, so what we're going to have to do there is we are going to have to insulate this up entirely, and then we'll have to run a link wire from that pad, from that pin on the power supply connector all the way to the other side of the board, wherever the other side of that via ends up. So that's a bit of a problem. This one here just looks like ground to me. There's nothing here. There's no. If you take a look here, you see this. When you see something like this here, okay, you can sort of see there's two lines here that sort of separate out, but you can see this pad here just runs into this wide open space, and it does the same down here. So all this sort of space around here, look, it's a big open space. Essentially, that's usually a pointer to ground. So if I put one probe and multimeter onto ground and touch the other part, we hear a beep, and we have less than 1 ohm continuity to ground. So indeed, that pad is ground. Now this pad is damaged as well, but this pad to me also looks like ground. Now why do I say that? Well, as we can sort of see here, we have the same line as this here. It opens into the top. Okay, so it comes out of this wide sort of expansive area, comes down here and into the top of here. And also down here you say, well, could there have been a via or something there? Or what's this bit here? But again, this is just a separation gap. That's not an issue. And is it maybe a partial via that goes the other side of the board? It may go down so many layers, but not all the way through. So they plug it and conformal coat over the top. So we're not too bothered about those. As you can see, there's a bit of an area exposed around there which has been ripped, but there's no via there. If there was a via going through the other side of this point, you'd see it here. But essentially, a via is like a copper-plated hole that goes through the board. So even if the via itself was ripped off, you'd still see the hole and probably a little bit of copper down the hole, but there's nothing there, which suggests that this pad just runs into here. So these two are likely ground. We can confirm that with another SAA board if we have one. So I have another SAA. It's still got the connector on it, but we should be able to prove the point that it's ground. So if I bring you in, get this connector somewhere close. Okay, so the pad we're missing is here. So if I put one probe on ground and this probe here, we should have a beep. And indeed we do. Okie doke, so less than 1 ohm resistance. So that is indeed ground as well. So again, that's fine. So it's just looking for the little visual clues. And people always ask me, how do you work it out? Do you have a schematic there? And obviously we don't for these things. And by the time somebody does leak it, it will probably be completely irrelevant and worthless because nobody's asked, because PS5 will be out. But there you are. But no, we don't have schematics or anything to this. You just got to use your eyes and your intuition and logical thinking, essentially. Okie doke, so those two are ground. Okay, so not too bothered about that. We can scratch a new pad in here. This one's still intact. As I say, we're going to have to probably insulate this up to make sure that the pin, when it's back in position, doesn't start touching that. We'll have to trace through where this via goes to the other side of the board so we can run a link wire. And what else have we got in here? And then here. Okay, so essentially this here is 5 volts. So these caps here are the smoothing caps for 5 volts. So essentially put one pin of the probe with the multimeter on ground, and the right hand side, I'll put you back in focus here. So the right hand side here, we get a beat from the multimeter 1 ohm to ground. Okay, so those are the ground side, so these must be the 5 volt side. Okay, now then, as you can see here, similar sort of process to here. So we can see this big wide open space here between these pads. Like I said, this pad just runs into this wide channel, as does this one. Okay, so we say they're ground. Well, if you look here, there's a separation line between this area and this area. And as I say, these two, well, we know the side. I'll try and speak. We know that the side of these two capacitors is ground, and we know therefore this must be 5 volt. Now this side here of the 5 volt pads is connected directly into this wide open area. Okay, this pad here runs directly into this wide open area, as does this pad here. It's just sat nicely there. Okay, and that sits directly in the same plane as what the ends of these two capacitors is. So we can safely say that essentially this is 5 volts. Okay, the top of this capacitor is 5 volts. And like I say, the ends here just run into this big wide open space. We have the separation lines here, but as we can see, it just comes in through the top and the same in through the bottom here. And this pad here is just sat, again, just in this wide open space. There's just no conformal coat around it. It's just sat in there. So we can safely say that this pad here and this pad here are connected on the same plane as the right side of these two capacitors, which is 5 volts. So if we confirm that with a multimeter, we just put one pin on the end of one of these capacitors. We touch here. We have less than 1 ohm resistance between the 2 points, which basically means that this here is connected to this here. So we try the same thing here. less than 1 ohm resistance. So consequently, we have continuity between here and here, and continuity between here and here, which means that this pad and this pad are directly connected to this side of these two capacitors. We know the side of these two capacitors is 5 volts, so we know this pad's 5 volts, this pad's 5 volts. We know this is ground, and we know that this is a data connection that goes through this via to the other side of the board. Okay, we need to trace where that goes. So what we do there. So how the hell do I know where it goes? That's the next question. Okay, so let's look for some features on the board that's going to help us identify what goes where. Okay, so we know we have this 12 volt connector here. Okay, these two prongs. Okay, 12 volts comes from the power supply to the board via that connector. We know that just to the left hand side of this connector is where this via is. Okay, so we've got one via, we've got this very close to it. Whether this is a partial via or a full via, I don't know, but we'll have a look to see if there's two really close together to the left side of this. So when we flip it over, it's going to be to the right side of this. Okay, so let's flip it over. And see what we got. Like I said, this is really awkward now because it's sat on the pins, which is a bit of a pain. Okay, so okay, so there you go. So those are the 12 volt connectors. So as I say, they were on the left hand side and the other side. So we flip the board over, so now they'll be to the right. So we're looking for something just down from here. So it's going to be through here. Okay, wherever this point is going to be somewhere around here in this little circuit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that wire off there because I can't see anything underneath it. I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to get my fume extractor's not on this. Is a little bit naughty, but what can you do? I'll put the fume extractor just for this one tiny crappy bit. Okay, so wire should now be off there. It is hot glued down, which is a bit of a pain, but it's usually not too difficult to get off. Okay, so that's the wire actually off now entirely. Okay, so let's see if we can see anything on this side of the board which might give us a clue, visually at least. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this area of the board off again, because it's just got a little bit of gubbins on it. So I'm just going to give it a quick scrub. Just to get it nice and clean so we can see what the hell we're doing. Okie doke. So, is there anything there that might give us a clue? So we said that it'd be just to the right. So there's two vias here, which will be very close to each other. Now, what you can see here is this here. So it was the via on the end because it was the M pad, if you remember. So it could be this via here, which then would go to this point. So this massive point here is a test point, actually, but rather than sort of soldering to this via, it's a lot more secure to use this big pad here, and of course that's where the wire was soldered to before. Now to confirm that, and this is going to be really awkward to do on camera, so I'm not even going to try, but I will explain to you what I'm going to do. So the multimeter is still in continuity mode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one probe on here, and then simultaneously on the other side of the board I'm going to put the multimeter into the hole with the via. If the two beep, then we know we have the right point, because it shows at that point and the via are directly connected. So you're just going to have to listen out for this, because like I say, I'm having to sort of pick the board up and hold it. You hear that? Less than 1 ohm. Okay, fantastic. So we know now that indeed the via we need to sort of repair goes to that test point. Okie dokie, right, we're cooking on gas, so that's what we're going to do now. I wonder where that saying comes from. I think one of my grandmas. We're cooking on gas now. don't know where it comes from. Oh dear, bless her. God rest her soul. Right, so this is where we are now. Now we're not going to be using this via to run the repair. We're going to be going directly from the pad. So we're going to be going directly from the pin of the connector. So we can just insulate this all up. We're going to have to insulate this anyway because, as I say, this is ground. And if the pin of the connector touches this, it's just going to steal the signal. It's not going to go through the body, it's going to go directly to the ground, and we're not going to get any communication, and we're not going to get any power to our machine. So what we're going to do is, before the connector goes back on, I'm just going to get some of this stuff here. So this is conformal coat. Okay, a lot of people ask me what this is when they see it go on. This is a conformal PCB overcoat pen. So essentially, you see the green stuff that's covered the board at the moment. Well, essentially that's all this is. It's just in a pen. Which basically means if you've got any damage or anything like that on your board, you can just cover it up, which is fantastic. This particular pen here is an MG Chemicals Overcoat pen in green. It's got a catalogue number on it, so 419D-P-GR. They do it in loads of different colours. I think they do it in black, I think they do it in blue, I think they even do it in red. So yeah, they do it in a few different colours, which is really cool. Great stuff that as well. I've had that pen for years. It weren't cheap at the time. I think it cost me about 20 odd quid, but it is really good at what it does. So much recommended there. Okay, so we're just going to let that sort of cure a little bit. It's going to take it a few minutes to cure up. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this connector off. It's not too bad. It looks in decent shape. It's not melted or anything. So we can reuse the 5-volt connector. I'm not worried about that at all. But as you can see, oh, you would be able to see if I had it underneath the microscope. Here we've got a little bit of stuff stuck to it. Okie doke. So I'm just going to clean this off, and this is easy enough to do with a bit of braid. So I'm just going to get my fume extraction back on. So again, apologies if it gets a little bit noisy. But yeah, this is easy enough to do. Just get the end of some desoldering braid. It's a bit finicky because obviously you can't put a lot of pressure on it because it just wants to wander, and you'll also melt the connector, so you need to be careful. Anyway, while we were just back there, we were saying we were talking about schematics and basically not having any, and it being worthless by the time somebody does leak them because PS5 will probably be out. On the subject of the next gen, what are we all thinking? Leave our stuff in the comments below. Are we excited for the next gen? Are we excited for PS5, Xbox Series X? I'm quite looking forward to it. I have to say, where are your allegiances lying then? Are you thinking Xbox One X is going to win out? Sorry, Xbox One Series X is going to win out, or are you thinking PlayStation's gonna romp it? Just trying to get the end of this. There's a piece of pad stuck to the end of this. Just trying to get it off. I have to say, I'm a little bit torn. I don't really know. I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm torn. I don't know. I can't make my mind up. I have to say, up until the Microsoft reveal event, I was very much 50-50. I didn't know which way it was going to go. I sort of couldn't pick a favourite. I like them both, but actually, the more I think I've seen of the PS5, I think I'm leaning more towards PS5 personally, from a personal standpoint. I have to say, this gen, I'm definitely a PS4 man, without a doubt, personally. I don't know. I can't really get on with Xbox One at all. I mean, I have one. I have a day one edition, which is pretty mint. And then I have an Xbox One S. What else do I have? No, that's about it, I think. But I don't really use them, to be honest with you, which is a shame. they're a nice machine. Don't get me wrong, I like them, but I don't know. This gen, I just think PlayStation has it sewn up. The next gen, who knows? Like I say, I was a little bit disappointed with the Microsoft reveal. To be fair, it just didn't do an awful lot for me. What was that racing game they tried to display? I thought it looked absolutely shite. It was just like, really? It didn't look much better. Well, it didn't look any better than what we've got now, to be honest with you. I know they're early sort of development prototype things, but it just didn't look that impressive. Whereas some of the stuff the other night on the PS5 reveal looked ace. I'll tell you what, though, I'm getting a little bit annoyed with Rockstar. Okay, as you can see here, well, we'll go back on topic. This stuff here is, yeah, you can see now it's starting to dry and go a little bit harder. So I'm just going to start scratching in a new ground pad this side of this connector here. So remember this bit here is all ground. So this pad's missing. So if we go here and we scratch away here, we'll be able to sort of bridge across from the pin onto our new pad that we're scratching in. So by scratching the green coating back, we're just exposing the copper underneath, which is ground. Okay, and then we'll have to do the same here to one side of this, because again, this is going to sit under the connector, so we can't just use that. So that's what I'm going to do again while I'm just waiting for this. But yes, back onto the PS5 reveal event. Actually looked really good. I thought there was some really sort of cool stuff shown off there. Yeah, I thought there was some really cool stuff shown off. Like I said, I'm getting a bit pissed off with Rockstar. GTA 5 again. GTA 5 again. Eh? It was released on the PS3, although right towards the end of the PS3. I could never really work out why they did that. I know it was a swan song for the console and everything. It was quite cool that it got it, but it was just like, surely it was more. It made more sense just to sort of like, send it to the next gen, send it to PS3. Sorry, send it to PS4 and Xbox One. It didn't make much sense at all, really, doing what they did by giving it. By giving it the PS3 and the Xbox 360, I never understood that one. That was always a bit confusing. So we were always going to get it on PS4 and and everything else as a thingy, as a rule, really, because it's probably meant to be a more of a next gen title, if you will. But yeah, it was just, I mean, that was when was that now? 2014, 2015 was it released on PS4? Nearly 5 years ago. Come on, boys, GTA 6, man, come on. It's next gen. So basically, PS4 and Xbox One didn't really get a GTA title, did it? This generation's lasted 7 years. It's not had a GTA title at all. And we're still waiting. I mean, obviously, PS5 and Xbox One Series X are obviously going to get it at some point. Well, I'm saying they are. So that sort of triggered me a little bit. I was a little bit annoyed about that. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, that did annoy me. Other than that, though, other than that, I quite enjoyed it. So Gran Turismo looked amazing. Gran Turismo 7. That looked absolutely incredible. Can't wait to play that. Being a bit of a car man. Can't wait for GTA 7. Sorry, GTA 7. Fucking hell, I haven't got GTA 6 yet. Gran Turismo GT7, should I say? Resident Evil 8, which is obviously going to be cross-platform, isn't it? But I thought again that looked fantastic as well. That looked really good. Resident Evil 8 Village, I think it was. And then there's a bit of a left field one. What was it? The game from Arcane Studios. The was it Deathloop? Deathloop. I thought that looked really good as well. That's not usually my sort of thing, but I thought that looked really good too. Yeah. So hey, we've got some really interesting stuff coming our way. I think in the next couple of years on these new machines, which should be really cool. Hitman 3. Ah, love Hitman. I have literally got every single one of them, apart from Hitman 1 on the PS1. But then again, I never had a PS1. Hitman 2, which was Hitman 2 Contracts, I think, wasn't it? And then all the ones further forward. Got the trilogy on PS2. I've got Blood Money on the PC. And then obviously I've got Hitman 1 and 2 on the, what did we call it? On the PS4. Love that game. Hitman 3 is definitely going on my shelf, without a doubt. Yeah, again, another game. Looks absolutely brilliant. So, really, really looking forward to some of the next gen. Should be cool. And of course, I have something planned for the channel. Money dependent. I'm not going to let you into too much about what I'm planning, but suffices it to say that when PS5 and Xbox One Series X eventually get their backside here, I intend to give you guys some very interesting content. Hopefully. Anyway, I'll say no more than that for now. Okie doke. So, any of you guys and girls who are interested in seeing a bit of next gen repair action, or want to see them torn down, or bits and pieces taken off them, and whatever else, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Suggestions in the comments below. Right. Okay. So this here now should be more or less insulated up. I scratched a pad in here, which we're going to have to insulate a little bit of this up, just to make sure we don't touch anything. We've got a pad here. Kind of hard to scratch in from that side for some reason. I think the blade on my Stanley knife isn't the best. I think it's broken on one end, so it didn't really want to scratch away too well on that side, but it'll be fine. We can work with that. And then obviously these two pads here are fine. So that's what we're going to do now. Is we're going to put this connector back in place. Okie doke. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to put a little bit of solder on the leg of the IC for this pad, because I don't really want to be touching that with the soldering iron when it's in position, because otherwise we may this conformal coat here will react to the heat. So essentially if we go in there with the soldering iron, we may very well end up burning through the conformal coat, and then obviously we stand to risk the leg of the connector touching the exposed ground plane beneath that pad, which would be pretty crap. Because then nothing would work, would it? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pop a little bit of solder and a little bit of wire on that pin before we start, and then we can sort of worry about the rest of it later. Okay, so the pin we're going to want to join to is this one here. Okay, so I'm just going to get a little bit of solder. I'll put that back in view for you in a sec. Just going to tin some wire up. Okay, so this is really thin. This is 38 gauge magnet wire that I'm going to be using here. Okey-doke. So again, this is awkward because it's not connected to anything, and they're a bit top heavy, these connectors as well, so it can be a little bit awkward when they want to be. Right, I think we're good. So I'm just going to cut a length off, quite a long length of wire for now. That'll be fine. Okie doke. So what I'm going to do now is going to get the board back in. There we go. Alright. Next job is Just going to put some flux down on here. Okay, and on our new pad here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, and then a new connector is going to come in. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this wire through this hole. For those of you who can't see, that's that hole there. Right, okay, so try and get this back in some sort of focus for you. Okie doke. I'm going to line this connector up onto the rear pads. Okay, I know my finger's in the way at the moment, but I'll shift in a sec. Alright, so we're going to end up somewhere roughly around about there. Okie doke. Now then, I probably am going to end up blocking your view for a second here. I apologise. I just need to tack this connector in place. By doing that, I'm just going to get a little bit of solder on one of these bottom connectors, and then I'll be right with you again. Right, okay. So my apologies there if I just blocked your view for a sec, but I just need to get that connector tacked in. Okay, doke. So as you can see there, we have this pin here that's tacked in. So just going to do the same on the pin on the other side. So this pin here. Okay. Reflection is absolutely really bloody annoying. Really bad. Right. Okay, doke. So as you can see there, look, 2 points there at the back are now in position. This is really strong. I can wiggle that. As you can see, I can wiggle that, but nothing at all is moving. That's really cool. Okay, so we'll spin this around now so we can see the 3 pads at the front. Let's move you. See if we can find you again. Keep turning round and I don't know why. Right, okay, so next job is yes, so just going to sort of move these pins here slightly closer to there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bridge across. So first of all, I'm just going to get a little bit of solder on these pads. So remember, we scratched this pad in here. Okay, that's one. And then remember we had this one here. Okay, and that's bridged across there. So that's really easy to do for those of you who are wondering how you do that. Essentially, like I say, you scratch your pad in and then you use some flux, and then essentially all you do is you feed some solder into the end of your iron whilst you're on the pad, and then you sort of build it up so you've got like a little small blob of it, and then you just drag it, you just flick your iron across to where you want it to go, and it will just wander across and live where you ask it to go. Now then, the other pad, remember the one we've got missing, which is here. So we have the wire that's connected to the bottom side of this. This is enamelled wire as well, so it's insulated. So it goes through this hole here, but this is insulated, so that's not gonna worry that. And then essentially it comes out the other side of here. And I'm going to show you where it comes out. So it comes out there, look. Okie doke. And it's essentially going to live just here. there. So it's just going to live on there. So this is enamelled wire, as I said before. So essentially, what's going to happen here is I'm going to put a little bit of flux on the pad. So you can see that there. And then I'm just going to come in here with a little bit of solder. And I'm just going to tin that pad up. Okay, so that's nice. And then I'm just going to get the tweezers and I'm just going to hold this wire flat. And then I'm just going to hold the wire in the pool. And what will happen is the heat from the iron will strip the enamel on the wire. And what will happen then is obviously once it's burnt through the enamel and the copper beneath is exposed, you'll end up with an electrical connection. And then the rest of this we can just break off. So we can just get it with the tweezers. There you go. That's it. Done. That's as complicated as it gets. And like I said, the wire has an enamel coating on it. So the fact it's gone through that other via there doesn't matter. We're all going to insulate it up again anyway. Put some conformal coat again just over that area just to make sure the wire doesn't move, it doesn't chafe or anything like that. The enamel coating on this is really sort of strong stuff anyway. Not going to be any mechanical sort of force to strip it or anything, so it'll be absolutely fine through there. It won't be a problem. So just cleaning this off just to make sure we get rid of any flux residue or any other sort of nastiness that's wound its way on there. Okay, lovely stuff. And then this side, back in focus. A bit of a clean up again. And we'll do the same on the back. If I can find you. There you are. And then we'll just test everything and see what we get. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that new IPA. It's fantastic stuff. Okay, lovely jubbly. Right, everything's nice and clean. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a continuity test to make sure that everything is where it needs to be and that we haven't sort of messed anything up. And we haven't got any sort of crossed points anywhere, any shorts that we shouldn't have, etc., etc. Obviously, before we plug it back in and test it, because we don't want to do any more damage than it already has been. If anybody wondering just how strong this is, by the way, I get tweezer blades in there that ain't moving. I can move the board about with it. So yes, this is a really strong connection. That's half the battle, of course, is not only do you have to, you've got to think about it a little bit, because not only do you have to obviously restore everything, but the other thing you really want to make sure of course, is that the repair is strong going forward. If anybody needs to get into this machine again in future to service it, obviously they need to be able to remove the power supply and disconnect everything without everything ripping off and coming apart in the hands. So that's another part of the battle. So let's have a look then. So 5-volt pins. Okay, so again we're going to use our test points here at the end of these capacitors. We'll go from the pins in the end of the connector, even though this is really difficult underneath the bloody microscope. So these N2 pins here should give us continuity. And they do. Less than 1 ohm on that one. Should be less than 1 ohm on this one. Now indeed. Middle pin here should be ground, so we shouldn't have any communication at all between our 5 volts and there, or our 5 volts and here. And again, we have no beep on open line showing on the multimeter, which basically means there's no connection at all between there and there, which is excellent. And the same should be said for that pin just there. And again, we have OL open line, no connection. Okay, fantastic. So let's test ground. So one probe with the multimeter now on ground. We shouldn't have any reading to this pin here. We don't. OL open line. We shouldn't have anything to this. Oops. Shouldn't have anything to this pin here. And we don't. OL open line. I'll tell you what, I'll approach from the other side. OL open line. Correct. This should read continuity. And it does. 1 ohm. This should read continuity. And it does. 1 ohm. And this one, this is the big one, because remember this pin underneath here on this end, this 5th pin here had an exposed ground plane underneath. This shouldn't read ground. And it does. Ooh, okay, that's not good, ladies and gentlemen. That's not good. So we do have ground there. Now, why do we have ground there? That makes me think there might be a short there somewhere, unless it's no, it's not. I was going to say unless that pin there is touching that, but it's not. It's nowhere near. That's a bit of a problem. Like I said, that shouldn't be. I mean, unless that pin has poked through that conformal coat, and I don't really see how it could have done. Yeah, it's definitely reading ground, is that? That is not good. That is not good at all. What can I do about that, really? Going to have to. I'm going to have to try here. Well, I weren't expecting that one, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to take our wire here. Okay, so wire is disconnected. So what we should be able to do now is just see, because if that, obviously now that pin isn't connected to the board at all. So if this pin now reads ground, it means that it's touching through that conformal coat. And it isn't. It says OL open line. If I touch the end of this wire now, which is, see if I can focus you in, you can just about see the end there, I think. OL open line. Okay. Okay, so that says OL open line as well. Little sod. Right, okay, hang on a minute. What I'm going to do here then. I'm just going to clean this pad off of any solder. Put the fume extraction back on while we do this, but this is why it's important to test, because there, obviously we insulated everything up underneath, it looked good, it shouldn't have been, we should have been fairly confident there. It just goes to show the importance of double checking before you fire anything up. Okay, now then I could do with another pair of tweezers just to sort of bend this wire flat. Right, okay, so put a little bit of flux on there. And then just got to come in here, solder that point back down. Okie doke. That's that. We should be good. We'll just check that the wire isn't moving. It's flat and everything's good there. That's fine. Okay, so we'll just kill the fume extraction again. Oops. Okay, so what we'll... Bloody hell, everything's tangled up now. Okay, so what we'll do, one pin of the multimeter again is on ground, and we'll touch in here, and this time, oh well, open line, no continuity at all there between that pin and ground, so that's good. So obviously we had something touching underneath there. It may be actually when we put the connector and we held it flat in, it may have just sort of been pushed against that ground plane. But what we'll do is, like I say, we know there's no connection there now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to come back in here and we'll just flood underneath that pin now. Okie doke. Just to make sure that there's nothing at all poking away underneath there. So that would be a bad thing if it was. Like I say, it wouldn't do any damage as such because there's no current, it's not a voltage rail. It just wouldn't work. You'd just end up with, you plug it in, press the button, and nothing would happen. Okay, so as I say, one probe on ground, the other probe on the pin in the end of the connector. We'll just make sure that, like I said, this doesn't beep. It doesn't. OL open line. Fantastic. And then what I'll do is I'm going to have to do the same thing I did before to test it's gone through to the other side of the board. Okay. I'm going to have to hold it. You're just going to have to listen out for this one. But if I touch one pin to the test point, and this is really awkward to do with bloody... This is really awkward. And then touch the pin in the connector. And you can hear there we do have continuity. Just do that again for you. Less than 1 ohm resistance between the 2 points, which is good. It means we've got continuity. It means our wire is running to the point correctly. We have no interaction at all with ground. Fantastic. So that is rebuilt. That is our 5-pin connector back in place, all working and lovely jubbly in theory. So what we'll do is, just to finish off, you can sort of see just around so like here, look, you've just got a tiny bit of exposed copper. We'll just cover that back up. The same on the rear here. It's always good to do because for those of you wondering, you'll be all right now, but you'll be surprised in a few years if you put this machine away in storage, that exposed copper will start to corrode, and then nothing will work. And for those of you who want to see proof of that, go check out, if you have a look on the original Xbox playlist, I have a video on there for the EO7, a hard disk timeout, and that actually turned out to be a similar sort of thing. Somebody years ago had installed an old mod chip on that board, and when they installed it, they must have taken the tiniest nick out of one of the IDE traces. They didn't damage the trace at all, but what they did do is they just took the top layer of the conformal coating off. Just must have exposed like the tiny scratch of copper. And over the years, it had actually corroded, and it actually corroded 2 of the traces out, which I had to repair. And that is a misery on an IDE trace, I tell you. They're so small and they're really kinky, quirky little things, aren't they? 'Cause it's all about timing. That was a pain in the backside, I can I can tell you. That was a pain. But yes, an interesting video if you want to go and check that one out. It's if I can think on, I'll put a link in the description. But as you can see there now, our 5-pin connector is back in situ. As I say, it's really strong. We can go, like I say, we can move the board about by doing that. So it ain't coming off anytime soon. It's well anchored in. A few of the pads were still intact anyway, so it's got a good anchoring in there. And like I said, we've rebuilt a couple of new pads and got a nice strong solder joint across two of them, so that's going nowhere. That's not in danger of coming off again, isn't that one really? Unless you're really cack-handed with it. But that will be absolutely fine and dandy. So what we're going to do is we'll put this back together and we'll fire it back up. I only have half the machine. I don't have a hard drive, and I don't have the disk drive either. I've got the somebody's lent the daughter board. Somebody's put the daughter board in there, but they've taken the drive out. So should be able to fire it up to safe mode, but we're not going to get any further than that. So that's what we'll do. So bear with me in a second, ladies and gentlemen. We'll put this back together, get it fired up, see if it works. Hopefully it does. And on to the next one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the machine in question. And as you can see there now, we have a white light. So we have power, and up here, cannot start the PS4, cannot start access system storage, because of course we have no hard drive sent up here with it. And as I say, we have the Blu-ray daughter board, but we don't have the drive present or attached to it. But there you go. That's it. It's all up and running and working, and seemingly absolutely fine again. I just started it up off camera because, like I say, when it's not got the hard drive in it, it takes it a good couple of minutes to come up on screen. So, but as you can see, you know, down there, look, beautiful white light, lovely jubbly, everything working absolutely sound. Of course, that's it. So we have power back to our machine, and as you can see, all is working absolutely beautifully again. So we can just turn it off, I think. Press and hold the power for 2 seconds. There you go. See it pulsing away there now. Shutting down. We've lost our input on the display. So yes, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, all back and working again. So yeah, quite a bit of damage on that one, but not too bad in the end. Easy enough to sort. But as we saw there at the end of the testing phase, it's really, really important to test your work to make sure that it's good before you go plugging stuff like that back in. Because at worst, you know, you're going to plug it in and you're going to get nothing. Sorry, at best you're going to plug it in and you're going to get nothing. At worst, you know, you're going to cause more harm than good. So really important to test. Even when everything looks good and you're confident, still go back in there and double check. But yes, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this one. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've learned something today. If you have, remember, and you've enjoyed it, then please pop a big thumbs up down below. It all goes to help the channel. And again, if you haven't already, if you could find it within yourselves to be kind enough to hit that subscribe button, that would be awesome as well. Quite a few subs recently, up to 26 and just short of 26,500 at the time of doing this video. So thank you very much for that one, ladies and gentlemen. As always, that's always very much appreciated. Your support means an awful lot to me. And hopefully, like I said, we'll start to get a few more of these videos out there for you. So as always, if you need a repair yourself and you're in the UK or the EU, you can hit me up at my email address in the description there. It's YTAndrewPaul@outlook.com. Hit me up down there with your issue, your location, and I can happily get a quote to you for your own repair. If you need components or anything like that, again, I can ship those worldwide. Just drop us a message with your requirements and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. So thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. As always, you've been fantastic. It's PlayStation, yeah, it's been alright. And obviously it's all back and working again, so we're all happy. Customer will be happy, well, when I can find out who it is. And what do you call it? I did have a response back from the courier. They actually said that they're going to get in touch with them and just ask them to either give me a ring or drop me an email. So either way, they'll be happy when they get in touch. I'll have some good news for them. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You've been fantastic as always. I've been Andy Paul. This PlayStation is back in the land of the living, and I will see you in the next video in the not too distant future. So from me for now, it's bye-bye. Stay safe out there. COVID's still a pain in the arse. And I'll see you on the next one. So for me for now, it's bye-bye. Many thanks for watching then, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then why not check out these recommendations below. Also, please remember to comment, rate, and of course subscribe to the channel if you found this useful. We've plenty more content on there, and there's lots more to come.